So I was getting ready to do this 5-day training with Tony Robbins. And if any of you are familiar with Tony Robbins, you're jumping for 12 to 14 hours a day. And at the beginning of the training, my samples arrived. I didn't read the directions. I just put this patch on my neck, right? But the whole time I'm getting ready to start this Tony Robbins event, I was like panicking inside because we had to have our cameras turned on and I'm not going to wuss out. I'm going to go all in, right? And I was worried about my heel. I had a bummed heel. Well, first of all, in 2003, let me just backtrack. I had an acute injury in both of my feet while hiking up Pikes Peak in Colorado Springs, training for a race called the Ascent. My husband was in Bosnia, so the only way I could train for it was having my daughter on my back. We were coming down the mountain and I felt my feet go through my shoes, but it wasn't my shoes, it was my feet. And so that was the beginning of a very long injury. I worked in the fitness industry and I was able to manage the pain. But at some point, we moved and went to Italy and I stopped teaching. And as a result of that, the pain was manageable, right? I didn't even really consider it pain. Then life goes on. My husband and I have this career. We come to Virginia and I noticed that, my son is out of the house. My daughter's getting ready to graduate. What am I going to do with myself? I went to cosmetology school at age 50 and I stood on cement for 14 hours a day. And then 3 months later, after I graduated, I opened up my salon and now I'm working 12 to 14 hours a day. And I can tell you that the pain in my feet was constant on the days that I worked. Now I had the luxury of not working if I didn't feel like it. I mean, I would schedule my clients accordingly. And at the age of 60 now, I want to be able to have complete control of my schedule. But what happened was because my feet were injured, I altered the way I stood. So that gave me a bumped right knee and then a bumped left heel. And I was like, my daughter's wedding. I remember removing myself from my daughter's wedding and going into the room where all their bridal stuff was and like wanting to cry, like I'm broken and I can't live like this. And I was really struggling. And you don't even realize how much pain you're in until the pain is gone. So roll the clock 2.5 years later, I get this little patch literally like 10 minutes before this Tony Robbins event's going to start. I put it on my neck. I don't read the directions and I'm ready to go and I'm scared. I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to perform at what I consider peak level. And they've got this introduction and they're doing all the rah-rah. So it's about 45 minutes into it and we're just getting ready to jump. And I noticed that the pain in my heel was barely noticeable, like 45 minutes. And I was like shocked. And so I went all in. It didn't get worse. 3 days later, I had zero pain in my heel, in my right knee, and the bottoms of my feet. Now, I want you to imagine this. If there's any grandmas out there or young moms out there, raise your hands because you'll know what I'm talking about. When a baby's born, their feet are really rigid. Like you can't bend them. That was my feet. And every night that I had clients, my poor husband had to massage my tight, ugly, torn up feet. And there was no movement in this area of my foot. Well, 3 days into using the patches, my foot bended. It was completely normal. He was, I can't believe